You know, 2 years ago when I heard that this album was coming out, I thought I would be way more excited for it coming, but now it actually came, and here we are now. Hey guys, it's Madeline here. So today we're going to be reviewing the newest album by Clich the Elephant. This band has gone through a lot of change since they started back in 2018. In their first album, they started with garage rock, and then they moved into more of the indie background, and then they went into alternative rock, and then psychedelic rock on their previous album, Tell Me I'm Pretty. On this album in particular, I spent a long time trying to get this review out just because listening to it, it's not exactly what I would think of Clich. So what we love about Clich and what a lot of fans think when they hear the word Clich the Elephant, they think of their really experimental, weird songs, such as like Teeth from Melophobia, Spiderhead, Ain't No Rest for the Wicked from their first album, one of their biggest hits. And on this album, we see more maturity like we saw with Tell Me I'm Pretty. A lot of fans complained about that last album because Dan Auerbach stepped in a lot with the producing and songwriting as well. So a lot of the songs seemed a bit more like the Black Keys instead of Clich the Elephant. I was actually a fan of that album. I thought the album turned out really well, although I did have to admit it wasn't exactly Clich. And this is the same problem that I see on this record. It's almost as if Clich has died at this point. If you're looking for the same sounds that you previously enjoyed from Clich the Elephant albums, you're not going to really find it here. We do have a few songs on this album that are similar to previous songs. So we have Ready to Let Go by Tell Me I'm Pretty, Dance Dance from Melophobia, as well as Black Madonna, also similar to Melophobia, and Tokyo Smoke from Thank You Happy Birthday. But as for most of these songs, we can hear Matt Schultz and his own songwriting and ideas, but they're kind of behind this pair of shades. It's really dark and emotional, and it's like distorted like the lyrics in House of Glass. It seems at this point they're kind of entering into the territory of dark wave or emo music, but that's not to say this album is bad. There are some really great songs on this album, The War Is Over being one of the best ones with the lyrics, as well as obviously Ready to Let Go, one of the singles, Skin and Bones, Social Cues, and Broken Boy, which is the opening track on this album. But at the same time, we have those songs that kind of just sit there and aren't that good. So like What I'm Becoming, it kind of reminds me a bit of Unpeeled, even though that album was just a bunch of acoustic songs that were already released. I can hear it in kind of the strings in the background, but it doesn't really go anywhere, and it just kind of stays in the same dynamic for the entire song. Just I'm so sorry for what I'm becoming. This album is talking about the dissolution of Matt Schultz's marriage, and a lot of these songs follow this same theme, but if most of the other songs are about this thing about his wife, then there are so many more better songs that have that same idea mentioned in What I'm Becoming that just sound better and are more fun to listen to. Then we have Night Running, which was a feature with Beck. This song, I really don't think it should have made it on this album. I'm not too keen on the sound of Beck, and just by listening to Clich the Elephant and those few songs by Beck that I have heard, it sounds way more like a Beck song instead of like a Clich the Elephant song, which brings up the other arguments from the past album that it sounded way too much like Black Keys, especially Mess Around. If a lot of people say Mess Around and that entire album should have been a Black Keys album, Night Running should not have been a Clich the Elephant song, it should have been a Beck song. The closing track of this album was Goodbye, and as a single, it was actually very disappointing. I've heard this from a lot of fans. It made us become less excited for the finished product. This album seems to be a bit of a concept album where most of the songs follow the same idea or theme. The theme being, again, his marriage falling apart. So Goodbye was actually a brilliant choice for the closing track of this song because it's looking back on, again, like the shy-eyed murderer part of him that is mad and is depressed and is anxious. He wants her back. And then finally at the end of this album, again with Ready to Let Go, he's finally saying, I understand, things went wrong, partly my fault, partly yours maybe, and it's just time to let it go, time to say goodbye, and then the album ends. This album relies a lot more on synths and drums rather than guitars like in previous albums. We see this a lot in Tokyo Smoke, Social Cues, and especially House of Glass. This change in sound makes a lot of sense, being in the perspective of a shy-eyed murderer, as Matt Schultz has described the album. There are a lot of minor chords and strange sounds or synths thrown into the album. It brings in the idea of something being dark, sinister, mysterious. But the problem with this is that it's missing the eccentricity of what defines a Cage the Elephant song. We see songs in the past, like again, we have Teeth and Saber-Tooth Tiger, Monkey Disease, where they're just going all out and being crazy. Indie Kids, Japanese Buffalo, all of these songs that are weird and strange and that you wouldn't think anyone would like, but that is what makes Cage the Elephant great, and it's on the safe side, it's more mature, and it's missing that special little spice to it, and the little experimentation that we saw with Melophobia. So yeah, that was my review for the newest album from Cage the Elephant. If you liked it, go ahead and give it a like, and maybe subscribe if you want to see more. I am also working on another over-analysis video for a few other songs that will hopefully be out soon. Thanks guys for watching, and remember to play it loud.